We are baking daddies today, or you can call them Chinchin. So guys, welcome. And I'll start with my ingredients. Straight to the point, guys. We have baking powder, and as you can see, yeah, that's what I used. I have an egg, vanilla essence, and prestige margarine. I use cooking oil, sugar. My other tools are a rolling pin, a knife, a cutter, fork, spoons, and measuring spoons, plus a cup. For starters, we're going to measure 2 cups of flour in a bowl and 2 tablespoons of baking powder. This is our sugar. You can use whatever amount you want depending on how sweet you want them to be. Using 7 spoons. Now that most of our dry ingredients have been mixed together, you have to look out for crumbs and make sure that they're all pressed into a fine texture and you have none left. So you start by mixing our ingredients finally with your hand or a fork. When all my ingredients have been perfectly mixed, I add my mixed spices, or you can add your grated zest. In an empty bowl, I add my milk. I used my eyes to measure, guys. I didn't need cups or anything like that. Then I added 10 drops of vanilla essence before swirling it around to mix it perfectly. A moment for SMR. Next, I add my butter to my dry ingredients because after adding the sugar, it is easy to mix the butter into the mixture and then press it in until I get a fine texture. After making my ingredients from separate bowls, I mix the dry and wet ingredients into one bowl, starting with a little bit of the wet ingredient and adding in as I go on. I tend to think that that works better than anything else than adding it at once. So from experience, don't put too much wet ingredients. I'm just going to finish that in there. I can't emphasize clean hands, but this is a hands-on job, so please have clean hands. So go in your hands, mix them properly. Don't be afraid of making a mess. This is not a comfort thing. One thing I can tell you is work as much as possible to mix the ingredients together. So don't rush to add in any wet ingredients before you are sure that the dry ingredients are still more than the wet ingredients that you've added in. So mix a little bit until you're sure that you need to add a little, and we're going to add in our milk, not water, guys, because this is strictly milk. But if you don't have milk or you don't take milk, you can actually use water. You need all the energy you can use when you're working on your dough. Need as much as possible so that it's ready. And I'm telling you that because I have learned from experience. Don't give up because your dough is not getting finely mixed and stopping to stick, because it will finally do so. So I'll just add a little bit of what was remaining in the dish. Yeah, we are not leaving anything here. So I think what I mixed was enough. I didn't even have to measure, guys. I just poured and added my vanilla essence. So I'm just going to knead the dough until it's ready.
One eternity later.
As you can see, this is our pan that we have started working in. You can see how clean it is. I'm going to change and put it in the other pan, which has a little bit of wet ingredients so that we don't waste any of our ingredients, guys. One important note to make is that just because the dough is not sticking doesn't mean that it's ready. So you have to keep working and knead it. Use all postures as long as it gets ready. For me, I pulled it out of the bowl because I was just so tired, but I had to knead. So as you can see, our dough is ready. This is what we're working with. After kneading our dough very well, we add a little bit of flour on the rolling board. And back to our dough, we add a little bit of oil and mix it in properly. As you can see there, it's all worked in. Then we place the dough on the rolling pin just to mix in the flour. I go ahead to divide my dough into 2 pieces, or depending on what kind of flour you've used, I divide it into workable sizes. And then I roll it out on the rolling pin. I will not promise you that this is an easy step. It's as hard as possible. So you roll it out, making sure that flour has been put on both sides so that the flour does not stick on the board. But if you have worked it very well, it will not stick on anything. I think this is perfect. As you can see, it's not sticking on the rolling thing. Next, we cut our dough into long slices that will be used to make our chinchin or daddies. Personally, I alternate between using a knife and a cutter, but for this part, I used only a cutter. Just cut the sizes that you want, or sizes that you want to use, depending on personal or business sizes. And we're going to cut them down into dices. If it is for business, usually you have to maintain the same size, but these are for personal consumption. So sprinkle some little flour on the dough to avoid the dices from sticking. In a pan, add some oil and preheat that oil before putting in our dough. That is what I do. I put a test dice. The secret between having soft or having crunchy daddies or chinchin is to how long you cook them. The longer they cook, the more crunchier. The shorter the cooking time is the more soft they are. So use that to your best advantage. For some of the remaining dough, I made it into shapes to make mandazi. For those ones who come from East Africa, you know the mandazi. And this was so soft. It was just so nice. It's like a breakfast snack. So it was a perfect addition to my daddies, because the daddies can be stored. This one also had the preservative, so I wasn't scared. So I just poked it in the oil as I was finishing, and I had a snack for breakfast. If you make daddies or chinchin and you have some, don't forget to make some daddies or half cakes, as most people call them. They're very nice. Yeah. Lastly, you have to know how to store your daddies or chinchin, and that should be in an airtight container. And for some of us who don't have airtight containers or Tupperware,
You can use a bowl and just put cling film over it. That's what I do, and I store them, and they're always perfectly fine. See you in the next one. Bye.